The first time I listened to the record, I was having my own trip with it, just enjoying the music. And I wrote the first question popping up in my head: how to find an even flow and a greater dynamic range in your music while still inhabiting an essentially ugly aesthetic.
Um, that's a great question. Uh,
Thank you.
how to do that? I mean, you can you can play a riff quiet and clean and have the drums come down and play softer. I mean the Melvins are kind of like the quintessential band to do that sort of thing where it's it's heavy and dirty and ugly like you put it, but they'll come way down and you know that I think that's something that's kind of lost on a lot of younger bands is you don't have to be just go 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 all the time for it to be heavy. I mean, there's and that's part of why I love Neil Young. The band loves Neil Young, and I think some of the Neil Young acoustic stuff is just as heavy as some death metal. Like it's more about the intent than it is having the most distorted guitar with a fucking HM2 and all that shit. It's just like you can be uh just heavy and gnarly and and but still have dynamics and be quiet and I can't say it enough. I feel like having the dynamics makes the heavier parts that much heavier. Sorry.
Right.
Um, just again, not to pick on Cannibal Corpse, but it after like 20 minutes of just foot on the gas, beating you upside the fucking head, like it's awesome. But then you without the dynamics, you just don't have it just it loses something.
Yeah, definitely. You know what to expect the next 20 minutes or 40 of it.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing in my head is, well, the fact that we acknowledge already Userate as a favorite band of us, made me ask you, why do you think the dissonant aspect of extreme music, this dissonant realm that we often talk about, is like a go-to place nowadays for people to expand and reach new avenues in their vocabulary?
Um. Well, I mean, just the obvious answer is, um, to quote Slayer, the Diabolus and Musica. They're just using the tritones is so many bands rest on that. But even beyond that, um, I I think it goes back to what I was saying about I love power chords and chuggy riffs, but to create something that's really unsettling, I think you have to go into that dissonant, noisy area. Um, and there is just something unsettling about hearing those sounds on a record, especially if you use them correctly.
Mm,
Uh, it just, and again, it's you don't want to do it all the time. You just kind of got to pick and choose your moments because just like if it's if it's just pounding blast beats, tremolo picking all the time, if it's just dissonant all the time, it's gonna turn into a wash as well.
Right. Like
So it's 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 not the end all be all, but it's another uh, tool in the tool belt, so to speak.
exactly another tool. Um, um, another thing. Do you find these days enjoying weirder and weirder music, or like are you already comfortable enough to play your favorite bands and not messing with new sounds or ideas currently?
Oh, I mean, there's been a couple records of the last few years that really kind of kicked me in the ass, and I was like, oh, okay, there's new shit going on. One example is the Thantifaxath record that came
Mm,
out last year. I
mm,
when that came out, the day it came out, I was at work. I paint houses for a living, and I was painting a fucking wall or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, new Thantifaxath is out today. And I put it on, and like 2 minutes into it, I stopped working and I listened to the whole fucking record 3 times in a row. It just floored me, and it still floors me. Trying to what's that band? Uh, that the Plebeian Grandstand record that came out a
oof,
couple years ago,
yeah,
like in 2021 or 22, whatever it was. That's another one. When I heard it, I was like, oh shit, these guys are really doing their own thing. Number one, but number two, just finding new ways to create shit. I mean, the way they're the song composition is number one, but number two, just some of the guitar things that they're doing, and I don't. Some of it sounds like synths. I'm not even fucking sure. Uh, and then yeah, just some of the noises and the ambient noises that are going on that record. Just that I still put that one on pretty regularly.
would it be safe to say that those albums maybe somehow inspired you for this record or for the new compositions, maybe in the future?
Um, Definitely to a certain extent. I, Again, that's where you kind of go back into the conversation of how experimental and how fucked up do we want to make it, but not sacrifice songwriting and not that the songwriting on both of those records isn't fucking fantastic, uh,
Not
but
at all.
just more in the realm of what we do. You know, it's we can't, not that we can't, but we're just trying to not make it too fucking crazy. So yeah, they definitely inspired me slash us quite a bit, um, and even in different ways, maybe in more technical ways. Like I know on that Thantifaxath record, there's lots of synth and guitars that are sort of playing off of one another and even stacking on top of one another. And I definitely tried to implement some of that on the new record where uh the guitars and bass are doing one thing, and then you put a synth on top of it playing a different note, and it creates this kind of a different, I guess it's a different chord voicing technically, but it sort of takes the mood of the song to a different place. And again, I think Plebeian Grandstand kind of does that as well. So there's definitely some ideas sonically that I was trying to steal. Whether or not anybody hears that, I don't know.
Well, I think you somehow validated some of the opinions I read on the internet about New Haven, that song. They made some comparisons to Thantifaxath, and maybe it doesn't hurt to you, that comparison.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to compare us to Thantifaxath, go ahead.
And I mean, I love that record too. And I love personally that I can somehow trace back those ideas to 20 years ago, Pluto's North, but I still finding exciting these days. And I can necessarily trace back your ideas in this album with any other type of weird thing going out nowadays. And I think that's a huge thing. I mean, it talks about being honest and discover something new in your own terms.